The Australian Men's Shed Association was established in 2007 with the goal of providing spaces for men to work on meaningful projects in the company of other men. A major objective of AMSA is to advance the well-being and health of its male members and to encourage social inclusion. One of the ways they've done this is by getting behind the Shed Online. To find out more about AMSA, we're having a chat to the Executive Officer, David Helmers. David, can you tell us a bit about the history of AMSA and the Men's Shed movement?
We know with the history of sheds that some sheds go back about 15, 20 years. There were small isolated pockets around Australia. In 2007, where AMSA was really formed, there was about 140 men's sheds around Australia that we knew of at the time. And now we're at the milestone of 860. And we're taking a registration on average about one a day. And that's just here in Australia. You know, in Ireland, they've just hit 100 sheds in Ireland. Our first community-based style men's shed that's similar to the Australian model is actually scheduled to open soon in Flagstaff in Arizona. There's already a number of sheds operating in Canada. We know of one operating in Tokyo. So it's starting to escalate.
How does AMSA support men's sheds?
Our main core these days is that we're providing practical support to sheds. Yeah, recently we released a new how to set up a men's shed manual. Compared to the older version, which was 100 pages of text and not the most riveting read around, we've now made it an interactive manual. I really enjoy now we're going to sheds that I may have visited that town, 2 or 3 years ago and spoke at, community development level on establishing a shed, and then 6 months or a year later they've invited me back, to see the shed when it's fully operational. There's a lot of satisfaction in doing that.
What are some of the health benefits and social benefits of being a member of a men's shed?
I quite often like to use the synergy of why does a bloke go to the pub? We all like a beer here and there, but it's more that, you ask most men, it's more about that social interaction that they're having at the pub. That's the main attraction. So the men's shed's creating that exact same space in a more positive environment. And we also use as a platform to launch a range of other health initiatives like our Spanner in the Works program, where we get the medical practitioners into the shed to give physical checkups on the men in the shed.
How does a bloke find out about men's sheds in his local area, and what does he have to do to get involved?
To find out where a shed is, they can call AMSA or go to our website. We've got a locator there where they can just put in their postcode and find the nearest shed in their area and just contact their shed. Once they know where a shed is, and most towns in Australia, with 860 sheds in Australia now, most towns have a men's shed, and all they've got to do really is just come along and knock on the door and introduce themselves, and the sheds are very welcoming places and we'll make them feel right at home, and they'll be a member within no time.
Tell us one of your favourite men's shed success stories. What positive outcomes have you seen in blokes who are men's shed members?
Some of the youth mentoring programs that I've seen have been amazing. I've seen kids that have come into sheds and had a lot of difficulties, and they found that positive role model, male role model in the shed. It's made a huge difference to their life, and you've seen the kids then get back into the school program and end up in good, meaningful employment, all because of the shed. Projects in the shed, what they're making here, it's great stuff, but it's only 10% of the equation. 90% is all through that camaraderie and those positive health outcomes that we get through the shed.
What would be the most unusual setting for a men's shed that you've heard of?
I know one on the East Coast that I love, and there's a very similar one to it in Tasmania as well, that's actually been developed as part of a recycle centre at the local garbage dump. And it's a bloke's heaven. You walk out the door and it's a whole junkyard full of stuff that you can get. They can be creative, and they're very unique sheds. I've been to one that's actually based in a old military fort. It's a part of a historical group. As part of that shed's activities, they make the shells for the 6-inch cannons that they fire on ceremonious occasions, and it's totally unique.
How do you get a men's shed going in your local area? What's the process?
Probably the first thing is to contact us at AMSA and register with AMSA. It's a free organisation to join. That way we can keep them up with all the latest in men's shed news out there. Then we can help them source a venue. We have the manual available. We highly recommend they download that. And the new manual we've only had available for 2 months now, and I think it's been downloaded a couple of thousand times, so it's become quite popular. And it takes you through that step-by-step process.
Now, AMSA is a major supporter of the Shed Online. How can a men's shed utilise the Shed Online?
One of the best ways that the sheds can utilise the Shed Online is to establish one of the new shed web pages available. Australia being such a large country, we can't visit every shed around, and the sheds themselves can't. But on the Shed Online, they can exchange their information and highlight to each other what they're doing in their own sheds around the country. I think it's a great way of them promoting themselves and being able to communicate all the different activities and diversities that they have in each and every shed.
Finally, what advice would you have for blokes who aren't a member of a local men's shed?
Simply find where the nearest shed is, go join the shed. They're great places to be, there's new mates to meet, there's new skills to learn, and you may be able to share a few skills with others.
David, thanks for talking to us today.
Thank you very much.